In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except for death and taxes. In terms of fat loss, there are universal truths that will always stay true no matter what. Having said that, there's really no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to fat loss, because bio-individuality plays a huge factor when it comes to your results. However, from working with thousands of people over the years, I've found that there are 4 universal truths that tend to move the needle when it comes to fat loss for most people. You actually have a built-in fat-burning mechanism in your body that we developed through 2.5 years of evolution. You just need to tap into it. The problem is, a lot of what's considered conventional wisdom about weight loss that still gets repeated by your dietitian, nutritionist, trainer, influencers, and other so-called experts out there actually blocks you from accessing this built-in fat-burning mechanism, which is just so backwards if you think about it. That's why the fitness industry is an absolute gong show. There's so much bad information out there. But don't worry, you're in the right place. So today, I'm gonna be sharing with you the 4 universal truths about fat loss so you can tap into your fat-burning mechanism and finally lose all your unwanted body fat that's been living rent-free in your body all this time. Before we get started, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video every week. Okay, if you ask the average person how to lose weight, seriously, like ask any random person out there, they'll tell you without a doubt that it's all about the calories. Just eat less and move more. It's so simple. Yes, that's kind of the foundation of fat loss, but only if you do it properly. What I'm trying to say here is only if you optimize your hormones, because that is how you tap into your fat burning mechanism. So that's what we're gonna focus on in this video. What you can't do is to literally just eat less by just cutting calories and eating a lot of highly processed fake foods. I like to call them frankenfoods because it's low in calories and just move more, like setting the treadmill to the highest speed and holding on for dear life. Like that might work at the beginning, but you always put the weight back on. And if that's been your method of weight loss all this time, you already know that to be true. So let's actually approach how to do eat less and move more properly through optimizing your hormones, Newbie Fitness Academy style. First up, let's talk about the move more part, because a lot of people actually start with this when they're just beginning their health and wellness journey. There's really only one problem for a lot of people. They have the right intention with this, but the wrong execution. Universal truth number 1, do the right kind of workouts. Let me explain. So exercise is a type of stress in your body, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So every time you work out, every time you stress your body, cortisol gets released. That is your stress hormone, or it's more commonly known as the fight or flight response hormone, along with a few other counter-regulatory hormones, but cortisol is the big player here. Why? Because higher levels of cortisol also results in higher levels of insulin, which is your storing hormone. And a lot of people consider insulin to be the master hormone. Why? Because it's the hormone that controls your body weight. All you really need to know is that if you have chronically high cortisol levels, you also have chronically high insulin levels. Cool? The reason why this happens is one of cortisol's main jobs is to flood your body with glucose. That way you have some quick burning fuel to get you out of stressful and scary situations. Again, this is that fight or flight response. Your body gives you the energy to either fight a bear or flight. But here's where it gets interesting. Your body perceives all stress the same way. So whether you're about to try and outrun a bear, which you can't, by the way, so you're in big trouble if that's your strategy, or let's say you're stressed out of your mind at work, or you're in a stressful relationship, or your workouts are a near-death experience every time, your body is gonna look at that the same way. It treats all stress the same way. It's gonna release cortisol and raise your blood glucose levels. Okay, that's a very important concept that you need to understand. Now, if you are in a real stressful situation, like if you're running for your life, then you are gonna use up all that extra glucose in your blood, and it's automatically gonna dip down to normal levels. But if you're constantly stressed, but you're not using up all that extra glucose in your body, like if you're on a tight deadline at work for weeks or months on end, or if you're just constantly stressed from life, like if you're financially stressed, if you're in a crappy relationship, or if you constantly get poor sleep, then your blood glucose levels remain constantly high. And again, it's those high blood glucose that causes your body to release the storing hormone insulin, which I mentioned earlier, because high blood glucose all the time is toxic in your body. So your body has to get rid of it somehow. Here's the crazy part. Insulin will take all that extra glucose and specifically store it around your belly. It's actually a survival mechanism because your body is trying to protect your precious organs by storing fat around it because it thinks that you're about to fight a bear all the time. Now, stress is just a part of life, and there are many different ways and techniques to reduce stress in your life. And one of them is actually the compounding effects that our workouts have when it comes to our stress levels. And the types and quality of your workouts will greatly vary. It depends on your goals, and there are many factors to consider here, like if you're getting proper sleep, if you're training for something specifically, if you're getting proper fuel. But one mistake that I see a lot of people make when they're trying to lose weight is they go way too hard, way too fast. They go from 0 to 100, and that can actually work against your weight loss goals. For example, I see a lot of people start going for a run every day, sometimes twice a day, when before that, their only form of exercise is walking back and forth to the fridge. And they do this without addressing the other stressors in their life. And now they've just added a new type of stress. And usually they're not ready for it. Like if you have a high stress job, you're not getting proper sleep, you're constantly surrounded by people who stress you out, if your meals aren't conducive to reducing cortisol levels, which we'll get to in a bit here, then you need to make sure that your workouts aren't adding to that cortisol load. Listen, exercise is all about movement and building lean muscle mass, not about counting calories burned. And it's been proven that calories burned during exercise does not translate to fat burned in your body. Again, this is why you see so many people on the cardio machines and they have the difficulty setting to 10. And they're on that machine every day. They might as well have their names on it, but they're not losing weight. Sound familiar? A good rule of thumb when it comes to your cardio routine is to include as much relaxing and leisurely workouts as much as you can. Preferably outdoors, and try to expose as much skin as you can, especially if you live somewhere warm, so you can kill two birds with one stone and you can get some vitamin D from the sun exposure. And no, the sun does not cause cancer. That's false. And the best way to do this is to just go for a walk. You can also go for a bike ride, but don't go Tour de France style where you're biking through mountains unless you're actually training for it. You can also go for a leisurely swim. Now, once you start to get in those things daily, then you can start adding resistance training at least a couple of times a week. And that's when you build lean muscle mass. Now, why is that important? Well, one of the best things that you can do for your health and wellness is to be as physically strong as humanly possible. Having a lot of lean muscle mass is also a strong indicator of lifespan. Think about elderly people here, but I want you to specifically think about the ones that still exercise even as they get older. And one of my all-time favorite examples here is Mark Sisson, one of my favorite fitness authors. He looks like that. He's 66 years old. I know people half his age that would kill for that body. Do you know what I mean? And then a couple times a week, do HIIT workouts or high intensity interval training. And you can kill two birds with one stone here. You can combine your strength training and HIIT workouts. And if you're new or you don't have access to a gym, you can just use your own body weight as your form of resistance. And you can get really fit and build a lot of lean muscle mass, again, just by using your own body weight as your form of resistance. Think about gymnasts, for example. They look pretty good to me. And if you want a proven plan on how to do this, then make sure you check out my Lean Body Blueprint 21-day weight loss challenge. And I'm gonna link to it somewhere at the top here. What I don't recommend is doing what I like to call chronic cardio workouts, where you're doing workouts that are a little bit too hard, a little bit too frequently with insufficient rest. That is a recipe for disaster, because doing chronic cardio workouts also induces sugar cravings, which again is caused by that cortisol and insulin interaction that I mentioned earlier. And let's circle back to your oversimplistic calories in versus calories out weight loss model real quick. If you just increase your calories out by doing chronic cardio workouts, it also triggers a compensatory appetite increase. So as you burn more calories, you also eat more calories. The problem is we don't really crave the good stuff after these workouts. We crave the bad stuff. We crave processed carbs and sugar, which leads me to universal truth number 2. Replace processed carbs and added sugar with protein and fat. Bacon and eggs instead of toast and breakfast cereal. Nuts and cheese instead of protein bars and granola bars. Hard-boiled eggs instead of your protein shake. This is a big one, and it's kind of a twofold strategy, because another trigger for cortisol production is low blood sugar. Remember, one of cortisol's jobs is to give you instant energy, and again, it accomplishes that by flooding your system with glucose. So when you flip that script and your body notices that you have low blood glucose levels, it thinks that you're about to go into hypoglycemia. It's gonna upregulate your production of cortisol in order to bring your blood glucose levels back up. So when blood sugar levels drop, cortisol increases. That's why it's called a counter-regulatory hormone. And again, losing weight is all about optimizing your hormones. Do you see what I mean here so far? You want to keep your cortisol and insulin levels moderated. So addressing and balancing your blood glucose levels is really important to making sure that those two key hormones are also balanced. The thing is, processed carbs and sugar throws a wrench in that equation. We simply did not evolve to eat this stuff, and when you ingest it, it throws your body in quite the roller coaster ride. And it's not the fun kind, because out of all three macronutrients, carbs, especially refined carbs and sugar, spike the hormone insulin the most. Protein also triggers insulin, but it also activates your satiety hormone, so you're kind of protected there. Like, it's really hard to overeat on steak, for example, while fat stimulates insulin the least, like barely, but it also activates your satiety hormone. Another key thing when it comes to weight loss. All you really need to know here is that if your insulin levels are high, you are in fat storage mode. So you've got this big spike in your blood glucose by eating processed carbs and sugar, and that big spike triggers your body to also release insulin. And the bigger the spike, the more insulin gets produced, which will then cause a subsequent crash. It's basically an overcompensation effect to quickly bring levels back to baseline. So not only are you in fat storage mode, but it can also cause your body to decrease blood glucose levels down below baseline, which then triggers cortisol to be secreted in order to bring it back up. So you've got this massive roller coaster ride where you've got that high insulin response, which puts your body in fat storage mode, and also a high cortisol response to bring your blood glucose back up from your sugar crash. This is why you always feel like you're crashing mid-morning or mid-afternoon after a high carb and high sugar meal, like a high sugary breakfast like breakfast cereal, toast, instant oatmeal, and a glass of orange juice. If that's your typical breakfast, then breakfast is the most important meal of the day for you to skip. This is why eating a diet that moderates your insulin levels is key when it comes to losing weight. Going back to eat less and move more, you can't just eat less. It's about eating less, like way less of the bad stuff like processed carbs and sugar, and replacing it with more fats and protein. Eat more bacon and eggs and avocado. Eat less Doritos, Pop-Tarts, and bread. Eat more vegetables. Eat less pasta. All those replacements are great when it comes to balancing your blood glucose levels and keeping cortisol and insulin moderated. This is how you activate your fat burning mechanism. Universal truth number 3. Get better sleep. Sleep is when all the good stuff happens in the human body. It's when your body recovers and repairs itself. It's also when most of your growth hormone is released, which a lot of people consider the real fountain of youth. It's also when we build muscle. There's a reason why we evolved to sleep for a third of our lives. If we don't get enough sleep, specifically if we don't get that deep quality sleep, that is when things start to go sideways real fast. Your body is gonna start to freak out. Your body is gonna get stressed. And what happens when your body gets stressed? It releases cortisol. And I've literally spent most of this video talking about cortisol. Here's where it gets bad. When sleep deprivation becomes chronic, then you also have chronically high cortisol levels. And chronically high cortisol levels leads to chronically high insulin levels. Both of those things leads to chronic inflammation, which is the root cause of all types of disease, including diabetes, obesity, cancer, arthritis, cardiovascular and autoimmune disease, and everything in between. There are studies out there where even just a few days of poor quality sleep can cause someone to have pre-diabetic symptoms. Crazy, right? And here's where it comes full circle. The more stress your body's under, the more repair, aka sleep, you're gonna need. Think of your body as a cell phone. If you're at 90%, let's say you got one night of bad sleep, that's okay. It won't take you long to get back up to 100%. If you keep using it though, and you're not charging it properly, then it's gonna take longer to get back up to 100%. If you let it go all the way down to 0 and let the battery die, then that's when you get sick. Your body literally starts shutting down. Do you know what I mean here? Universal truth number 4. I specifically put this last because with great power comes great responsibility. I only want you to do this once you've accomplished the first 3 steps. This is the last step when it comes to activating your fat burning mechanism, and it's to incorporate intermittent fasting. And I talk a lot about this on my channel, so make sure you check out all my other videos, especially if you're new. But when it comes to specifically targeting body fat, and I mean all your unwanted body fat and burning it for energy, its efficacy is unparalleled. And I always get asked this question: what's the best exercise to burn your chest fat or your belly fat or your arm fat, you know, the chicken wing? The best exercise to lose all your unwanted body fat is to stop eating. Mind-blowing stuff, I know, but I want you to think of it as simply taking a break from eating. Listen, it's actually not about eating less, but less frequently. And I recently made a video about what I eat in a day, so make sure you check that out. But if you saw it, I eat all my calories in one sitting. I just eat one meal a day. And this is the physique that I'm able to maintain. And I've been doing this for 8 years. Because you can bet that eating all your calories in just one meal in just 1 hour while fasting for the other 23 hours is gonna have a net positive physiological effect in your body. Like, I don't know, optimizing and moderating key hormones like insulin and cortisol, which has been the entire topic of this video. But again, with great power comes great responsibility. This is why intermittent fasting is last, because fasting is also a type of stress. That's why I don't want you to start with it right away unless you've accomplished the first 3. Don't do this until you're metabolically flexible. If you don't and you just rush into it, that's when you start to see people not see the results that they're looking for when they fast. This is when you hear people say they get headaches, they get hangry, they have no energy, they're miserable, and they're gonna say that, oh, you know what, I tried it, it's just not for me. Yeah, no kidding. Because their bodies are literally freaking out. Their bodies are going through carb withdrawals, and with that freak out session comes the dreaded cortisol response. And we are back to square one. Do you see what I mean here? At the end of the day, achieving a successful weight loss transformation comes down to optimizing your hormones and activating your fat burning mechanism. And if you follow the 4 universal truths about fat loss that I just gave you in this video, you're gonna be well on your way to doing that. The next question then becomes, how are you actually supposed to eat if you want to lose weight? Because here's the thing, 80% of your body composition is determined by your diet. You can't just freestyle this part. Do you have a proven plan that you can follow? To help you with that, I want to give you a free copy of my Lean Body Blueprint. This is how I melted all the fat around my stomach without depriving myself of my favorite foods or wasting hours at the gym. It's a simple 4-step process specifically designed for busy professionals, and it's the exact same blueprint that I teach to all my private coaching clients, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. If you want to be the next success story, then download your free copy of the Lean Body Blueprint right now. There's going to be a link somewhere at the top here or in the description box. Just click on it, type in your email, and I'll send it to you right away. All right, that's all I've got. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post a new video every week. And hey, leave a comment below if you have any questions about this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Virtual high five.